There you are. Thank you, Stephen Cooney. Yeah, and if you think you heard Steve before, yeah, a couple of days back, Steve was on the program. And he's there today simply because I like him. He's a beautiful guitarist. Do you know him? He was married to Sinead O'Connor.
I thought when you said Cooney, you were talking about people from the area. There's lots of Cooneys in the area.
No. This is Cormac Campbell. How are you?
Not so bad, Ron. You look like a man who badly damaged his back pounding on the lambeg drum over the past week.
No, I don't beat any drum or walk to any drum beat, but my back is for some reason out. I think it's a consequence of just misuse over the years, lifting things I shouldn't have been lifting.
Oh?
And just, yeah, like ship's anchors and the sort of pulley bar, the push bar of a boat trailer that weighed maybe a ton, all that sort of stuff.
And another seamless segue, Rowan.
Sure, I do it for you.
Yeah.
Always.
You nearly think it was scripted.
Oh, no,
well, that leads us perfectly into today's front page story.
Your lead story.
And it's our ship comes in, and
Yes.
after 18 months of planning, Warrenpoint's finally set to welcome our first cruise liner.
Yes.
And I suppose what we're getting at is stressing the importance of this. A lot of people in this area complain that this area could be a tourist hub.
Yeah, we hear it all the time.
And it requires people from this area to make that little bit extra effort to make that happen.
His name is Mark Kelly.
Mark O'Hare
Mark
and Rory
O'Hare.
Haley.
The
two gents who've done that are Mark O'Hare and Rory
O'Hare.
Haley.
Yeah.
And they secured, obviously, the Saga Pearl 2 to come to Warrenpoint. So what they now need is members of the public to come out, roll out the red carpet, give a warm welcome to the 450 passengers who will arrive on Sunday morning.
I think people will, won't they?
I hope so. There's a full itinerary of entertainments with New Point, also Irish dancers, trad music, brass and silver bands, and also a craft fair. So there should be a bit of crack in the town, so hopefully...
Warrenpoint is good for that kind of thing. Newry would be less good, because Warrenpoint is so contained compact, and people... There is a kind of a friendly...
Well, I think that the main sites
it.
you'll see entertainments taking place. Obviously, the town centre, the cafes, and will be busy, and the bars will be busy. Yeah. But when the boat comes in, I think the place to watch it is the breakwater and the promenade car park. And also there will be entertainments along the promenade. I think the craft fair is to be in the square. I might be mistaken on that.
Yeah.
Also the park, there'll be music and entertainment.
Great.
And New Point will be performing along the promenade, but also out at Narrowwater.
Yeah.
So get out to Narrowwater, where there's also the NIEA, the Environment Agency, is organising a sort of themed day with actors and such in period costume in the...
Wonderful. It reminds me, you know, I just got this sense of, you know, islanders in the South Pacific waiting for the big boat to come in and bring prosperity.
I think you mentioned prosperity. There's no doubt about this. Each passenger is expected to spend £75 a head when they're here. Now, if Warrenpoint can secure 3 to 4 cruise visits a year, that becomes a major player in the tourism industry here, the wider economy. That creates jobs and sustains jobs. So that's why the need for people to come out and support this.
We have a total commitment to the technology of the event, because We're dredging around the clock at the moment to make sure
Right.
everything's right and that nothing goes wrong. Because I remember we took in one of the big boats, or one of the big tall ships, into the canal and coming up into Newry on St. Patrick's Day. As we were passing the quarry, there was a build-up of silt on the bottom of the runoff from the quarry, and we touched, you know. So no such chance has been taken here.
I'm not surprised. It's a big deal.
A big deal.
Worth millions over years.
Over years. So that's why the big dredging operation is on now. And, you know, there'll be a consequential benefit to the port this whole section is being dredged par excellence.
It won't just be the eyes of the public on this, it'll be the eyes of the other cruise liners.
Absolutely, absolutely.
No doubt they'll have a few spies
don't
in the
you know.
town just to see how things go, to see if it's
Yeah.
somewhere they'd like to
Absolutely.
to bring. If we move on now, well, is it moving on? It's we regurgitate over issues over and over again, and the Carnbean debacle about the 100
just
million
going
planned
on.
development. The council have decided to have another meeting about it. They're not so happy about it, but we'll see where that leads. There's obviously division among the parties. The SDLP are backing the minister's decision, as you'd expect, given the fact that it was their minister made the decision.
Oh, they had gone a little bit the other way. Now they're back supporting their minister, isn't it?
They're going to support their minister.
Wow.
So obviously, given the week it was, we've got all the coverage of the 12th and the 13th. So we've...
Had you heard that when the council and when the Chamber of Commerce people and the Newry City Centre people went to meet the minister at Stormont, they made mincemeat of him in planning terms, that they demonstrated at that meeting that the planning philosophy was bad planning, and that the minister hadn't a word to say.
It matters little if he has no word to say. The only thing that matters is the decision he makes.
So power is absolute.
Well, if there's a legal issue with it, that can be challenged. But if there's not a legal issue with it, you know, all you can do is try and change his mind. Which,
And is it a good idea, do you think, that the centre of Newry, the traditional retail centre of Newry, the heart of Newry, should be preserved at all costs?
It's not for me to say that, Rowan. It's purely my position to be a conduit between different viewpoints.
You're the conduit.
Yeah.
I think you're rather more than a conduit. in between the lines, you say so many things.
Do I?
Yeah. But you enjoy doing that. You
Well,
see.
maybe I do.
Take us on. Take us on.
There was a strike of council workers last Thursday.
Yes.
But that didn't stop one happy couple being able to get married at the town hall. There was fears that the wedding would have to be called off, but the council workers facilitated the wedding taking place at
weren't they
the
lovely?
town hall.
They're
So
very good.
we've got a nice photo of the happy couple and also a few nice quotes about the big day and how a few cheesy song references thrown in by Donald McMahon. Would you know this one, Rowan? If I was a carpenter and you were a lady, would you marry me anyway?
I would.
You would?
I would.
Well, the gentleman who got married is indeed
A carpenter.
So that's just one of them. There's been growing, I suppose, optimism in the building industry that things are starting to turn.
The figures this week saying that we've been in substantial recovery for the last year.
Well, it's a good, if you want to see if the building industry is recovering or not, it's always a good idea to have a look at some of the projects on the planning service website. And two of the projects in the area that received planning approval this week, they're not 100 yards from each other, are one at St Mark's High School in Newry, a new 3G football field. Now, obviously, they have to source the funding for this project.
Where is Mark's in Newry? St Mark's.
Warrenpoint.
Sorry, I beg your pardon.
Warrenpoint.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also then it's a sort of I suppose you'd class it as a double development on the same site, which is in a field on the Burn Road, which is just behind St Mark's, and it's for 43 houses, a 33 house development, and then a 10 house.
So they're building
planning
again.
approvals
They're
through.
building again.
Well, they're planning to build again,
yeah.
so we're starting maybe to see.
And Peter would tell you down at Warrenpoint Port that he's exporting a lot of cement and stuff to the south of England. So they're
they've
building.
got the Quinn contract.
Yeah, so they're building.
So.
You know, and it's going out into the south of England.
But speaking of building work that's just completed, the walkways have
Isn't
finally
it
opened,
lovely?
and they are absolutely
But you're
beautiful.
whinging about it, aren't
I'm
you?
not whinging about it.
Go on. Go
no,
on.
not at all.
Go on.
There are, of course, things that need. It's not a finished project by any stretch of the imagination. As I've said, we've got a beautiful before and after photo. We've got great reaction from the maritime groups and also the business people in terms of what this brings to the area. Now, there are issues that need to be resolved, most notably the cost of businesses using it for. If you want a cafe culture, at present, a trading license is $4,500, which is 10 times greater than other districts. I think in Down District, where Newry will merge next year, it's about 350 quid.
Yes.
So these figures have been plucked out of the sky. So
But
business
you're
leaders,
probably right. Plucked out of the sky, and maybe when people get to talking about it, good sense, because we have a good council.
That's what the business leaders want to drive. Now, one thing as you know, in every April we do the High Street survey, which is the number of vacant units on Hill Street and Monaghan Street.
What have we got?
And 2 years ago that was at 30, and this year it was 20 when we did the survey, but 2 further units have since opened, so it's down to 18. So various factors, including the public realm scheme. So what we've done this week is we've done the same function along the open stretch of the walkways. There's currently 11 empty units, so the proof of the pudding will be when we come back next year and see a bit of investment. Now, bear in mind that the tax office has already been sold, so hopefully we'll start to see some plans emerge from that in the coming weeks and months.
I walked it the other day. At 6 o'clock in the morning, I go to Grounded and have my coffee after I write the news here. I'm off, I shower my head before starting. And after my coffee, I walked on a beautiful blue sky day with the moon full down to my right and the sun rising behind me to my left. And the canal was shimmering and the walkway was magnificent, and I congratulate the council on it.
It does look
It
fantastic.
is superb.
Yeah.
But there is another thing I'd like them to consider.
Oh?
Because nowhere in the entire length from Sands's Mill through to the basin can one launch a canoe. There is nowhere that a fisherman
There are
can.
some gates, but
Yeah, but they're
I
locked.
suppose the problem would
There's one gate for each section.
It'd be interesting to see the Inland Waterways Association of Ireland. They regularly hold the bathtub race
Yes.
and the stretch in front of the
Well, they'll have to use
the bus centre.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how that's facilitated. Now, one problem I will raise with it, we've had complaints already about some of the signage that's been erected, and according to various groupings, a section of the signage is grammatically, factually and geographically incorrect. The sentence reads, "The Newry Canal was Britain's first summit level canal." Now, Newry's not in Britain. It may be in the United Kingdom. It may be in the British Isles.
We were 1742, weren't we? That's when our canal opened.
Built between 1731 and 1741. Now, the other issue is the signage has spelt Britain's incorrectly. And it is also, according to the IWAI, Newry Canal is not a summit level canal, it is a summit canal. And for those 3 reasons, a bit more devil in the detail is required.
Devil in the detail, but I would really be, I would pardon them that almost, because that'll be not noticed in a wee while.
Would you pardon them saying it's in the wrong island?
Oh no, I wouldn't that. But I mean, I'm more interested in the term. It is a bit of an ornamental pond at the moment.
That's a term that was used in the build-up.
But I mean, if people want to go, we really need to be able to use that for canoeing at least.
But this is the first step. I mean,
know.
This is the first major investment.
I have already said to them, congratulations. I love it. What they've done.
This is the first major step since the council bought it.
Yeah,
for a pound
it is.
in the.
But I can tell you, and I take pleasure from this, and I take a certain credit for this. They wouldn't have bought it for £1, but for the pressure I put on them with John Donnelly when we founded the Canal Preservation Society.
You tell them
there were proposals to close it in and use it as industrial land.
We're going to turn part of it into a road and part of it into a car park.
But they've done wonderful things with it, and it is shimmering, and it's a credit to them. But let's get the little bits of tweaking done.
Closing stuff in and speculation of what it may be. The Albert Basin, of course, has been very much on the topic table in recent
Are you
weeks.
telling us that it's going to be closed in?
Well, I'm not. What I am saying is we contacted the 3 main political parties who sit in this mysterious party leaders grouping to get answers on behalf of the Maritime Association, Newry Urban Sports and Newry 2020. And Sinn Féin and the UUP replied to our query. The SDLP chose to ignore it.
Can I say, how dare any political party that on the Monday of the week is out begging people for votes, and on the Friday of the week not responding to an inquiry on behalf of the people? How dare the SDLP do that?
Well,
that's not acceptable.
You mentioned what could
that
be
they should ignore you.
Something that the Sinn Féin statement hints at. The word they use, which I found quite... it was there for a reason. It says that the area should always fulfil a civic function for the people of the district. Now, in recent weeks, we've discussed the plan to scrap the renovation of the existing council chamber, perhaps with a proposal to develop a civic centre. Now,
I know
civic
where you're
function,
going.
civic centre, we will see, but we won't have to wait long to see.
I know where you're going.
Because on July 22nd, on July 22nd, there will be a workshop in Uri, 11 a.m, looking in depth at capital programmes across the council.
Wow.
Now that's not for members of the public, that's for councillors of the new super council. And that was a quote from the new CEO, Liam Hanaway. So no doubt Dalbert Basin is one of the sites that any person thinking of where you would place a civic centre, that would be one of the places you would certainly consider, given the fact that it's large and is under council ownership.
It's also very wet, and there are a lot of people who would seek to preserve the wetness, and that
well,
it should
won't be
remain
in the base. It'd be the Albert Basin site.
Yeah. Oh, in the back of the basin. Yeah.
Now, something that's seen a few wet days, and I'll see a few more, is Jonesborough Market.
I'm not charging you for that segue, by the way. You can go ahead. Yeah.
So it's turned 40. Many more happy years to
It doesn't.
Jonesborough
I remember all of that. That was big. Where does 40 years go? But I mean,
I don't know. I'm not
you're
40
just
yet.
40. You're not 40 yet.
I'm only 30.
My goodness, I'm twice your age plus 10. And I expect some manners from you as a consequence of that fact, right? Oh, my stop me.
You shouldn't have been hitting the land bag that hard.
My back.
So as I said, in addition to coverage of the 12th and various parades, we
it's
also
huge coverage. Well done.
We also have coverage of the Sound of Music in Warren Point. It was some of the young actors and actresses from St. Albans.
Excellent.
And also the Bowley Fair. Three Ways had their fun day as well.
Yes.
So there's plenty of community activities.
I see you've now started a technological
Donal
page.
is a bit
What's
of
that
a
about?
nerd. Sorry, Donal.
Is that the first time?
This is the first time. Hopefully, I think he's hoping to run it about once a month, and they'll be testing some gizmos and bits
I've
and
learned,
bobs.
by the way, how to cut and paste.
Have you? Beautiful. Scissors.
No, yes, silly fellow.
There is a photo that should
Peter
be
McParlin's
Peter
in there.
McParlin and Gus Begley.
Gussie
You remember
Begley.
Gus Begley
Do it
is
what?
the man who famously came home to Newry to find out that
His
he was
headline,
dead.
that he was dead. The headline in your paper said, Gus is dead, you know.
The paper also confirmed that he wasn't dead. He had been in New Zealand. The story was he'd been killed by a dangerous fish.
But in those days, if a Newry man went to New Zealand, he may as well have been dead. That was the end of it.
Well, he came back, much to the
back from New
surprise of the
Zealand.
public.
Yeah.
We'll move on to sport. It's a brilliant headline that I'm taking credit for.
Yeah, tell me.
There's speculation of whether now Benny Coulter, the down great, will hang up his boots after nearly 15 years.
That's right.
of
He says
service.
he won't do that.
He says he won't, but he's also implied that he may. So we'll wait with bated breath. He was the shining light for Down on Sunday at Park Esler. So we've given him the headline, General Coulter's Last Stand. So hopefully it's not.
Yeah, hopefully. Well, he said it's not. So
Maybe it is. We shall see. That was you were in pain there at the thought of Benny hanging
Excuse
up the
me,
boots.
no, it's a sin if you take pleasure from it, right? Yes,
If it's been a difficult number of weeks for Down, it's been not so bad for Armagh this week.
Armagh's doing well. The silence is paying off. And Grimley's going. What's his name? Gimley's going. And what's the other fella's name? McGeeney's coming. That's
we
good.
don't know that yet. Nothing will be happening until they're out of the championship.
I really need you to start reading the
championship.
Irish News sports page, because that's what the Irish News is saying today. Go on, keep going.
Well, we'll wait until the end of the season and we'll see what will happen.
What is it they say? Time will tell, and frost will try the potatoes.
Oh.
There's a new one for you.
So who you're comparing to potatoes there?
No, go on ahead.
I'll leave that to the viewer's imagination.
Go ahead.
So, so it's an excellent win for Armagh, 13-10.
Yeah.
But one other athlete...
That's an interesting photograph there, by the way, that you've got there. It's of that lad, what's his name? Here he is, this fellow here.
Clark, Jamie.
Jamie Clark. Jamie Clark, outside of the football field, is the most cherubic, innocent-looking fellow.
But clearly here, he's committing a foul.
He's evil there. There's a look of I'm going to take you out.
No, the thing I would say is he is looking for a foul by actually fouling his opponent and pulling his arm to make it look like he's been dragged.
What's new, I ask, in football? Did you watch what about the World Cup?
Sorry?
What about the World Cup final? You watched it?
Well, I had Argentina in the office sweepstakes. I did all right. I got a few pounds. I'll buy a few sandwiches.
Well, there you are.
But if we're talking rising stars, elite athletes, Aisling Crossy really is the one to keep an eye on. She is jetting off to America this week to compete for Ireland in the World Junior Athletic Championships. Now, there's a photograph here of Aisling in action, and from it you can really see why she is that little bit special. She is quite a distance ahead of her opponents. She looks like she's out for a jog, and she's blowing the opposition away. Now, Gareth, our main sports writer, he has said that she is Olympic standard by all accounts. Everyone he's spoken to has said, watch this space. Perhaps even as soon as Rio, Aisling Crossy could be have her name in lights.
Wow.
Now, other athletes that we've mentioned with regularity that have their name in lights are the young boxers of the area.
Yes.
And there's a growing campaign, perhaps, to have that recognised by the staging of a full Irish international event in Uri, and that could be delivered for as little as £5,000. Now, what that would require was, if you look at all the boxers from this area who've fought and won international vests, the two Tuckers, then you move on to St Malachy's, Eugene McKeever, Conor Wallace, Fergus Quinn. There's nearly an Irish international in every local club at present. Plus you weigh in with Jason Byrne, who's the Ulster Senior Super Heavyweight Champion. You could certainly put on a top-class show.
Who do you need to convince about that in order to get the show to come?
I think the IABA have been contacted by Barry Tucker, Kane and Jake's father.
And where would we hold the event?
Well, you'd be looking at a venue that would have the capacity to make the thing pay. So you'd be either looking at, I guess, the likes of the Miller Suite at the Canal Court or perhaps the Sports Centre.
Yes.
Now, obviously, if you have it in a commercial premises, there's fewer costs associated with yourself and also maybe a higher yield. So there is, the IBA seem convinced that the quality is here, that this could happen, and they will do the administrative help in terms of booking another international team to come here. So watch this space, and hopefully we'll be able to crown another Irish champion within a week, because there's some local boxers boxing in the National Cadet Championships in Dublin this weekend. Two of them could actually meet, which is Aaron Kettle from St Bronagh in Rostrevor and Eugene McKeever, who I mentioned earlier. So watch this space. There's some interesting things happening there. A big event happening in Rostrevor this weekend. It's not just the cruise boat that's coming up Carlingford Lough. There's also the Irish Downhill Mountain Bike Championships taking place on Saturday and Sunday.
That's going to be
19th and 20th of July at the Kilbrony Downhill Trails. Gareth has an interview with World Darts #1 Michael Van Gerwen.
He's very fat, isn't he? Not Gareth, Michael. But Gareth, I didn't say anything there. Oh, yeah.
So there's an interview with him. There's also the launch of the Curragh Championships. If you've been in one point, you'll know
there's a lovely.
I
have to say, it's wonderful. The Curragh Club is doing so well, and they're out there rowing away, and it's all going well. And I caught a few boys vandalising their stuff, and I dealt with it. You'd be pleased to know.
Is that why your back's sore?
No. This was a month ago. It's amazing what people get up to. They vandalised the oars. They took the oars and they wrecked them. But we were able to pass on relevant information to the police.
Has this been in court yet, Rowan?
Not yet.
Maybe you shouldn't discuss it in the airwaves. So.
Well, they haven't been caught. It's one thing to report it to the police. Right. It's another thing for the police to catch them. It's a rarity if you report anything on 101 that the police will respond in anything less than 1 hour. So the miscreants are there, gone, escaped. But it's a nice philosophy. Makes people feel comforted. I'll ring 101 and I speak to 3 different people. And when they've finished asking me for all my details, I get telling them about the offence or the alleged offence. And it's all manipulation, mental manipulation.
Manipulation of our own.
No, of our populace. People have been made feel that they are being protected, when in reality there's little enough protection. I'll stop there.
I'll move back to the news section briefly. It's 20 years ago this week that plans for Ballybot House first emerged in the paper.
My goodness.
So we've got the original artist's impression of what it would look like, and it does actually look like that, and it still looks like that.
You have a little bit of Venice in there, the town hall, I rather thought. It's Turner-esque, really.
Well, obviously last year it was agreed that the town hall would be renovated,
stuff.
and people are starting to scratch their chin and ask, when's this work starting?
Yes.
1.3 million is scheduled to be spent, half of it this year, half of it next year. So a timeline for the restoration and improvement works at the town hall will be confirmed once the design team for the project is appointed. So that still hasn't happened. Now what we do have is an image from the original architecture. The original plans featured a large clock tower on the roof.
And it's a fine-looking edifice there.
It would have been beautiful. Now, they didn't have the money to deliver that. They still delivered a beautiful building that we're all very proud of, I'd imagine. Now, one of the boys, Donal, in work joked that page 2 actually looks like a second history page. Of course, we run a history page in the centre of the paper because there's a large number of old photographs.
Yes.
Now, by and large, these don't relate to these relate to what's happening now rather than in the past.
But that's your take on it. Donal's take on it is you've taken over another page.
Quite possibly, yeah.
Look out, Donal, watch him.
So the two photos we've used in the centre are of a stretch of Hill Street and also of Church Street in Warren Point, and public realm schemes that have been put on the long finger on Verada, Rowan, last year because of a lack of Department of Social Development funding. According to Crowley Councillor Declan McAteer, will be back on the agenda next year because the new council will have a £5 million pot to deliver.
Wouldn't it be news? Wouldn't it really be news? Like, I don't think that's news. Wouldn't it be news if Declan McAteer was not going to back it? As opposed to, he is going to back it. Well, does the Pope say his prayers? Has the Queen got soldiers?
It's not that he's backing it. The story isn't that he backed it. He says it's back on the agenda for next year. It's going to happen next year, not anything else.
I put you know right
personally,
well.
It's not that he backs it.
Do you know
he may be entirely opposed to it.
No,
I don't think he is,
of course he's not. Of course he's not. There's an outbreak of blue bottles.
Oh?
Yeah, absolutely. I've noticed it.
Oh?
What would you recommend? Is there a proprietary sort of...
St. John's wort or something? I don't know.
You get this? John's, that's for wort. No, that's for something else. Have you anything else for me?
Have anything else for you?
I think we're there.
A quick rummage. Oh, they found a mortar bomb in the Mourns near Annalong.
Yeah, but World War II.
It's no surprise. Yeah. We've gone through a list of some of the other things that they found in... but one thing that is coincidental is that New Point, obviously, this week are doing... World War II sketch.
Oh, what a lovely...
At Narrow not the play.
Yeah.
They're doing a World War II sketch down by Narrow Water for the cruise boat visitors.
The right place to be, because that's where the Americans stayed.
Go down and check that out.
Yes.
Let me see what else we have for your own.
I think we've near enough gone through the whole page. Oh, Father Collins, he's a fellow.
Yeah, Father Ray Collins.
Ray Collins, Dominican.
50 years in the
Newry man.
So there's a couple of photos of him in his pomp in his youth.
In his pomp in his youth, there you are.
And also just a retrospect of his career.
Yeah.
Which is still ongoing, obviously.
Yeah. The Dominicans are good people. Yeah, they're people, solid people.
If council reports, obviously, would be something I would cover. And you see some unusual things come up now and again. And one is in terms of the gender imbalance you see in politics.
Yes.
And this week, the gender imbalance was very clearly seen when Liam Hanaway asked for nominations for the new Policing and Community Safety Partnership grouping of the new council, and it had to be in line with gender and cross-community requirements. So at present, there are just 9 women compared to 32 men in the new council. And according to Mr. Hanaway, as there are no females in the DUP or UP groupings, we need female representation from Sinn Féin or the SLP for the group. So as as
So
such,
yeah.
in the interest of equality, were female representatives of the SLP and Sinn Féin, who perhaps didn't want to be on the PCSP, were they railroaded and cajoled into that group simply because they were women? Fortunately, on this occasion, that wasn't the case. The SLP had already selected its representation, which included women, as it Sinn Féin. So, but it raises an interesting question. In the interest of equality, our minority grouping, so to speak,
getting advantage,
being shoved in somewhere just because
and we're not necessarily, equality is being served, but quality
on paper
is not necessarily
well,
being
equality is
served.
being served on paper in numbers, but is that true equality? That
so is there positive discrimination, you think?
well, it's not positive if a female politician is forced into that position. Say if that you will only get to sit on a certain number of committees, and if that female politician had her heart set on being on, I don't know, planning or something else, and they were told, oh no, you have to.
It's the nature of politics, dear boy.
Well,
that's the way it is. You do what you're told by
that's
the
why
party.
people look for a reform. That's why the suffragettes look for a reform.
What would you know about the suffragettes? You're not yet 40. Oh, I got it again. It's terrible that you get a
I have to start telling jokes.
twinge in your back. No, don't start that.
Shagging Friday.
No, stop.
Schadenfreude.
Yeah.
In line with the one final thing, in line with the strike last week,
Yes.
market traders could be in line for a partial or total refund of the fees they paid. They showed up for work on Thursday morning, no electricity, no working toilets, yet were expected to pay full
no
wage.
issue. Give them the money back.
The council are looking at some form of refund.
I shall doubtless see you in Warren Point on Sunday.
You may do.
Okay. I look forward to that. Take care. Thank you for speaking to me. Many blessings. Take care. All the best to you. That's Cormac Campbell.
Before our love got lost, you said, I am as constant as a northern star. And I said, constantly in the darkness, where's that at? If you want me, I'll be in the bar, on the back of a cartoon coaster, in the blue TV screen light. I drew a map of Canada, oh Canada, with your face sketched on it twice. Oh, you're in my blood like holy wine. It tastes so bitter and so sweet. Oh, I could drink a case of you.